Hello, I've just had a request from somebody on the Wood Forum to talk about my oil stones. He's got the impression I'm an expert. Well, I'm not. I know very little about oil stones, but I had used to collect them years ago, but unfortunately they've all gone. I had some very unusual, probably one-off oil stones, but that's a long time ago. But I'll tell you what little I do know. These are my current stones. I have a diamond one for doing really rough work. I have one of these khaki ones. As I mentioned before, I've only ever seen 3 in my entire life, and they're as good as an Arkansas in my opinion. Don't know what they are. Oh, I want to tell you that when you make an oil stone box, if you've got a big enough piece of wood, in this instance I hadn't, but you always want to put end grain blocks at the end of your oil stone so that you can use the full length of your stone, otherwise it wears hollow very quickly. So end grain up. This is a carborundum man-made reddish in colour. Notice the end grain, and incidentally you want about an inch. You don't want a quarter of an inch or anything silly. You want a large piece of wood each end to use it. This one I had when I was about 15, and it's a stone up until recently I would use every day when I was doing joinery. If you sharpen a plane, say you're doing property repairs like I used to do, this stone will sharpen the blade quick and easy to do the job. But of course, if you want to do cabinet making and plain really hard wood, sometimes you have to go on to natural stones. That's the mahogany case I made. Bit of a knot in the middle. This is elm. This is one I recently did. This is another carborundum, but this time it's a grey green. Notice the blocks again. My neighbour gave me this a couple of years ago when he was leaving, and it's a very quick cut-in carborundum. I love it dearly. I use this in preference to this, and of course this is boxwood. I've just acquired this one the other day. I believe it to be almost identical to this one. It's khaki in colour. I love it dearly. I must make a better box for it. I don't know what they are, but they're brilliant. Notice it hasn't got blocks in, and I did notice a lot of people have them without blocks, which is not very good practice. I've recently learned somebody, a bit of an expert who goes to Davy Stanley sales. He knows a lot about oil stones, and he recently told me about this green Idwell Welsh stone. It comes from the Idwell, I think, in Wales. He told me about this stone because I'd got a green one and I thought it was a Charnley Forest, and it turned out to be an Idwell. But I've since got rid of it, so I can't show you one of those. There was a nice story in one of the early TASS magazines years ago. Somebody in a workshop, they had one stone and everybody used to borrow it, and it was a Charnley Forest stone, and that's local to Leicester, and it was highly prized. And then somebody brought over a Washita from America, and overnight nobody wanted this prized Charnley Forest one. They all wanted a Washita, and I think it said the stone couldn't be sold for 6pence once they found the Washita was better. A Charnley Forest stone is grey green with purple in it sometimes. They're a finishing stone. They're quite soft, but they are a nice finishing stone. And according to form, years ago they'd be quarried in the summer. I think it's this way round. It might be the other way round. And then they would be taken. One managed to take them on his bicycle as far as Birmingham and places like that and sell them probably in the winter. It might have been the other way round. And a Charnley Forest stone is nearly always flat and then irregular elsewhere. They were never squared off, or very few were squared off. Having said that, this picture here, Sarah, this picture here was the biggest Charnley Forest stone I ever found. It was 12 inches by something like 3x3. And I made this large box for it, and I think it was maple and mahogany. The actual stone went, when the lid was off, it went down to this bottom layer. It was a very deep stone. I actually gave that to Christopher Payne off the Antique Roadshow, and he still got it. Right, this box I made, and show them this picture, is one of the prettiest, in my opinion, things I ever made. I found a black Arkansas stone, and it's the first one I ever had, and I got this piece of burr elm from a cabinet maker. It was very thin, but I just managed to make a box out of it. And when I'd done it, I used to do all these boxes by hand. I'd never chisel them out by hand, believe it or not, then router it with a hand router. And this entire piece of wood, the grain was so all over the ocker, it was virtually end grain coming up. I remember when I was chiseling it out, it was really rattling on the bench. After I'd done it at a later date, I actually filled all these imperfections in the burr with gold leaf. And after I'd done it, I didn't like it, so I picked it all out again. And this particular box, from a photograph I was offered from an American, just seeing the box, £300. But I actually gave it to a dear friend of mine in Dublin, and he's still got it. It was just a magnificent piece of wood. A little bit more about natural stones. They say the best stones are Arkansas, and Washitas are on a par with Arkansas, but not quite as good. I have had some translucent white and black Arkansas in the past. They're very, very rare now. I should have kept them. And I did have one of each that were 3 inches wide. And I reckon the black one, the black Arkansas, is the best of all. Surgical quality, they used to say. And that's about all I can tell you about stone.